July 2017. July 9th, 2017. The T generator uses a magnetic field assembly to rotate a shaft of an electric DC motor that is wired to a USB power pins or a battery pack that is hooked to a USB power ports for basic charging needs. You use N magnets angled so that the magnets inside the inner fan assembly are forced to move continuously. You use N+1 magnets in the inner fan assembly. Difference is in the number of magnets means that at least one is always offset, forcing movement at its strongest point, effectively being a kick mechanism to start the device. You cut the edges out of the outer magnet so that they can be glued or placed next to each other to create glancing angles. You could also use circular rings as well, but you'll get better results from the cut magnets as you can change the angles of cut producing differing results for various applications. Let's get to an easy setup as the basis. So the degree for, say, a 17-piece outer magnet would cut the leading edge at a 21.176470 and the following edge at the same slope outwards towards the leading edge. Use 18 spokes on the inner fan assembly, placing the magnets at a slant in the opposing direction V, with the same pole facing those in the outer ring, which should all have the same pole facing outwards. For the inner fan magnets, must all be exposed angle relative to those forced inwards, and they must be smaller. For 18 spokes, you would have to have 20 degrees angled for each spoke, so that at all times, the outer frame is completely acting on the inner simultaneously. To make a stopping mechanism, build an ejecting magnet housing that forces a set of magnets between the two frames within the opposite pole to force a slow down eventual lock of the system. On pressing it against the magnet should slide so that the fan begins spinning and is carried on by the system's design. Or for the stopping mechanism, build an electromagnet that is oppositely charged from powering and hook it up to the machine's wiring so that when the off switch is activated, the line switches to the electromagnet. The faster the spindles are spinning, the faster it's going to stop if acted from above and below. Let the device stop itself. All that would be needed for the mechanism to start is a kick magnet on a swing arm to push the spindle into gear. I can make one of these if I have access to a water jet cutter and a few magnets in the USB port and a 6-volt motor. Very simple build. Going to try and get one made around Nedio's knowing, then I can show her the finished product. Must figure out the minimum of this design. An easy number is 360 divided by 30 equals 12 pieces. 60 equals 6 pieces. Means 7 inner at 360 divided by 7. The ideal number is 9 outer pieces at 40 and 9 inner pieces at 10 at 36, or any derivative of that multiplication. Use an LED to control when the user knows it's stopping the device. My God, am I bored. The only issue is buying a magnet strong enough to overcome the friction coefficient of the motor easily. There is another issue of getting enough RPMs to get the voltage you want. That can be made possible by staggering the inner magnets with increasingly powerful magnets to build speed up to the speed of the last pair or set of magnets, those of which would be the strongest of the setup. Then it's just a matter of building a second slower setup to power a fan for cooling of the device. It's been proven that the system works. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together until it works. July 15th, 2017. Both of these designs will work, but they work in different manners. Draw them in pencil, buy a protractor, and provide measurements for the magnet company. Take other measurements and create CAD files of a case to place them in. See if you can do it for under $100. July 16th, 2017. https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/special:random. July 17th, 2017. As icebergs the size of states break off in larger and larger chunks, you'll get a lake effect, snows falling in a trail behind them, depending on their direction of travel. If they make landfall before melting, then they will alter the flow of air if it passes overhead, then into land, causing larger storms to arise and potential snowfall/flooding as the warmer air combats the cooling air. Floodwaters will rise as well as they melt, causing stronger tides and potentially more cyclones as they drift between warm patches. The number of storms will increase and then lessen, but the severity of each storm will increase until the cooling effect is gone. Then tropical storms will take over, causing monsoons and flooding, I think. July 19th, 2017. There are forces working against the rotation because it pushes off at the wrong angle. That being said, there is a maximum angle where the amount being pushed back against the rotation is minimized, worth figuring out before standing in for design. You can minimize the total amount of force against acting against the device by reducing the number of joins in the outer core, though those act as your gear's teeth. That means lessening the number of bends, which effectively lowers the gear ratio of both the inner core and the outer ratio's core, making it slightly less grunty. But there is a viable minimum angle with this design where it will still work. But if you but if the force pushing against the force is acting against the rotation, and those net forces are more than the total force pushing against it, should still be able to rotate, just speeding to total negative force slash all over time of one rotation. That's your loss coefficient. Will the inner core rotate? Yes, but I'm not sure if it rotates in both directions or is pointing to just one direction. I assume since the outer core is pointing in one set direction, it must more easily move in one direction, which is what you want. We don't want it starting up in reverse when we want it to shut off. I hope I can afford to get it made myself without needing to involve other people first. July 23rd, 2017. Messages and music haven't stopped since last November. Can't seem to do more than see them and then ignore them as unreal. Having auditory hallucinations at H while on Abilify, identifying the people sitting there as those people again, telling them my symptoms were a pain in the ass at the time, them saying they wanted to talk about the work, people saying that the book plotted like Lord of the Rings, but I don't think in a good way, and saying I got 100,000 for the generator, that my score isn't as high as some others, 1,200 but not 1,500, no idea what ranking system they're using, thought chess but no way to know, talked about how those people were out to kill me, speaking as my interpretation of the events unfolding at the time, also said it was an ethics lesson once they're in. Something which I figured would be true at the onset. Hasn't changed much. They mentioned O and JavaScript being their way in. They kept talking about if I kept playing their little games, there was a golden room with what I wanted in it waiting for me. The part that goes along with the delusion hoped it was a laboratory with people to work with and funding to take Nadios on trips as she wants. Inventing things would be the most enjoyable use of time. Nadios came back and they said so is the life of Jay. It was most likely hallucinations, but since I can't tell considering that they felt real at the time, there's no way to prove either way, but I have to assume I'm wrong. It would be cool if the Respiradol took care of the musical belief, but that doesn't seem to likely to be. It'll happen anytime soon. Definitely nuts, Jay, just mildly so. There's no one out there going to take time to do any of that, Jay. Apple Nixon, Onion, No Onion, Santa, Alaska. ANS is the American Nuclear Society. Rather than figuring out the inside of a nuclear bomb, there's not much to go on. The first generator mimics a spherical cyclotron. Going backwards doesn't work. Just dead ends with no ways to go beyond them and the limited understanding and likely ill I have. Might as well make the windmill generator and see if I can sell them. July 26, 2017. At the cafe having ordered a drink. Not noticing anyone out of the ordinary. Meds are probably working. Now if I could just get rid of this music delusion I would be set. Been down the last couple of weeks, very unproductive. As long as I rework the animatic today, then it doesn't matter, and I'm back on track. The lady sitting outside to the table next to mine started dancing. She must have been having a good day with her work. I think I'm gonna set it here for an hour and work through some delusions so I can get out more. Doc says because I have insight into delusion that I know it's not real means I'm doing well. I keep thinking about the generator. He said he made one and it worked, so why wouldn't mine work as well? Just don't have the funds to make one, maybe one day. July 27th, 2017. Not sure what I expect people to be mad at me for designing random things. It's just a part of who I am, I guess. I need to get back to the animatic. I can't believe I have to time it manually. What a pain that's going to be, but at least it's working. So I've just got to keep it going and it should be good. Timing sheets only work if your guide audio is matching. Wonder what I did incorrectly to make it off by the first piece of dialogue. At least I can still use the part of the math I did for it. Hopefully it'll work out. August 2017. August 2nd, 2017. Holst Jupiter animation. Build up to the first cadence is liftoff. Then the ship swims through space as the music plays. They eventually get to Jupiter. There needs to be multiple characters, a lighthearted pair who plays the cherubs or lilting bird song, and a more serious drone character as well as the nameless lead. The ship should be a character as well, all played by various parts of the music. Getting the sheet music and timing it to the right places would be great, but basically the story of a lone astronaut heading out to Jupiter and then his ship malfunctions when he's out collecting samples leads to the light-hearted bit of his drone cherubs going to find him and save him. When it gets to the intense bit at the end, you could have him coming in hot on re-entry and then the final splashdown on the last bit of the thumping end. Then it rises and he opens the door as the music ends and it ends in silence. Learn about Jupiter's moons and see if they can play into it. To be completed after Animal Quest is done. August 4th, 2017. Voiceover resources. Castingcall.club. Record to this for free. Brackets. Reddit. BehindTheVoiceActors.com. August 8th, 2017. Getting back to work. This happened with the book too. You took a day or so off and it took a few days to get back up to snuff. Just sit still for an hour and focus on the drawings and you should be able to get a few done. Put a timer on and let it go off once you're working and see how far you've come. August 16th, 2017. Bats in the library to eat bookworms. August 20th, 2017. Neat words. Overmore, the day after tomorrow. Lustrum, 5 years. August 20th, 2017. She's working on the final shot of her next video, bent over the collapsible table while resting the camera on a book. I just made us both peanut butter sandwiches for lunch and I'm eating mine while she moves between the dining table and her workspace. She arranges a black piece of soap in front of the camera and with one arm while bending at the waist to see the viewfinder before kneeling down to get a more comfortable viewing angle. She's been making these videos for weeks and her Facebook following has broken over 4 figures. She's hesitant to tell them again, but I hope one day she will because she could make a good living doing this. She's that good. I should be working on the storyboards when I'm sitting here reading Schizophrenia subreddits digesting my food. August 20th, 2017. I've been having trouble getting back to work. Like I'm worried of overdoing it, so I'm shying away from the work, though it's all I've really had to focus on. Made a Hodor Sharpie piece 2 days ago, and yesterday I started storyboarding again, albeit very slowly. Mania is not something I would welcome back easily, and if I do 100 drawings per day like I've been doing, then it risks coming back. So I've got to proceed slowly, striking a balance between a properly usable amount of work done and not overdoing it. The Adderall for my ADHD was getting intended to focus me up and get me lost in my work, but in reality it's losing me into YouTube and internet holes quite deep with useless content. That is my fault for not getting back to work sooner. If I focus up, I'll be successful because I have nothing stopping me from being so. Best get back to work and seeing how it's going once we get done shooting for the day. Probably while she works in the video processing she's gotten quite good at. Hi everybody. So I've made a new store called animalquest.shop and I made my first shirt, Barkland Reading, at the Amberstone's house. And I would ask that you go and buy those there. I'll make a few bucks each time you buy something from there. And I have men, women's, baby clothing, and buttons, as well as other accessories, including dog bandanas, which I think are pretty cool. And I'll be adding more merch every week or two for that store as the stories progress and the sequels are written and read. I'll do the same for Divergent Mind. The link again is animalquest.shop. The link for Divergent Mind will be divergentmind.shop as well. Thank you so much. Jay. Okay, well I'm taking a break, so I might as well do some ads. This is my first one, so bear with me. So, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's pretty cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Please visit anchor.fm/divergentmind to leave a message so that I may get back to you. Thank you. Have a nice day. So Anchor is asking me to ask you to support me financially. I would ask that you go to my Patreon to do that, which is patreon.com/divergentmind. It means you can either become a monthly subscriber at a different tier of $1 to $3 to $5. I'm not looking for a lot. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for anything. This is going to go to the end of my podcast. I don't like it when podcasts straight up ask you for money when I'm doing okay. Well, I'm not doing okay. I'm surviving now to the point that I can make this. I would love to be able to make improvements to this by, say, getting... So basically, I'm running off an iPad, and I would like to improve it by getting different things that would make it better. Maybe some headphones that monitor output, or a better mic, though the mic I got was from JWife, so I might not even use the better mic. You know what I mean? It's all about whatever I need at the time, but really it's just to get healthy again, because I'm currently over 300 pounds and I don't want to die that young. I would really like to be able to afford some vegetables so I can go back to my vegetarian diet, because being this big sucks. And I'm happy to sit in a chair all day, but I really got to walk my butt off, literally. So that's what the money would be for. It would be for healthy food, because I can't afford it. I can afford ramen and pasta and rice and beans, but I can't live on carbs, because that's how you get this big on antipsychotics. Junk food and carbs, which is just cheap and plentiful around me. So I would like to leave my house and just lose some weight. And to do that, I would like to go to the store and buy some vegetables, please. But you don't have to do anything. I'm not asking you to. I'm not begging. I'll figure it out on my own. Much pleasure, Jay. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I have a YouTube channel called Taught Myself, and that I've decided to start selling merch already with a phrase that my brother showed me saying, "My disability is invisible," of which I made a hat for myself. So I decided to make hats, shirts, hoodies, for both men and women on Spreadshirt.com. All you have to do is search for "My disability is invisible." It's in green, and that's mine. You'll know it's me because when you click the sale icon, the same little Divergent Mind icon comes up. And I hope you'll support me. I make about $5 per shirt or per sale. Everything else goes to Spreadshirt. But that's okay, because it's still a better deal than a lot of other places. And I really hope you'll support me. Come check me out on the YouTube. Teach me how to do that properly so I can have a community there too. And I await your response. Have a lovely day. Jay.
Hey people, take a listen to the Divergent Mind podcast. You get both insight into living with a serious mental illness and get to listen to a lovely tale about a journey cute little animals need to take. Don't miss out, and remember, divergent minds don't need to think alike.
Please go to ratethispodcast.com/divergentmind and tell me what you think. Thank you very much. Yours truly, Jay.